some video we shot earlier today. This is 11th Street near Jefferson, one of the other, the first spot where that tornado touched down. We have trees that are downed and snapped off. We have roofs that are off, walls, parts of houses that are just torn away like dollhouses. Now you're looking at Catawba, the last spot that this 100-mile path, the tornado hit. Catawba Island here, you could see telephone poles that are tilting precariously. Also, trees fell on one house, demolishing it entirely. And we want to show you something interesting. This is some condominiums right on the lakefront that were blown off of their stilts. You can see debris littered in Lake Erie this morning. An amazing sight there to see. Now, Port Clinton's mayor says when the sun came up, he could not believe his eyes.
It was pitch dark last night, and I couldn't see really anything other than my flashlight coming down here. We had the emergency crews and everything. I couldn't see anything. This morning, it's worse than what I thought I saw last night.
In the wake of all that damage, neighbors are coming out to help one another, as you might expect here in Northwest Ohio. The owner of the home we're looking at was too upset to talk with us, but he is a teacher at Port Clinton High School, and his students came by to help him to try to salvage some of his belongings, and residents say that is no surprise.
It's a real close-knit community. Everybody knows everybody, and, you know, we know it could have been us. It could have been any of us. So.
Now, the Red Cross and city officials are moving through Port Clinton doing some damage assessments right now. There are no exact numbers to tell you as far as how many houses were destroyed or damaged, but the mayor anticipates that damages here are going to be in the millions of dollars. And if you look around town, it's really no question about that. That's not hard to believe at all. Now, coming up here on this special report, we'll have more from Port Clinton, including relief efforts, where you can go if you are in need of some assistance, and how you can help if you are so inclined to do that. Jim, back to you.
Okay, Tom, great job keeping our viewers up to date last night and this morning. Stand by with us. We'll be returning to you in just a few minutes now. One of the worst hit areas in Northwest Ohio was Van Wert, near the Indiana border. And this is some home video you're going to see now of a massive twister. Look at this. The twister blamed for at least 2 deaths and tremendous damage in Van Wert County. Now, the woman who took these pictures says she feels fortunate her home was spared. As we mentioned, Governor Taft has declared a state of emergency in Van Wert County. He's sending in the Highway Patrol and the Ohio National Guard to help with the cleanup there.
I first looked at the wall cloud. It was just a wall cloud, and then a couple minutes later is when you started seeing the funnel cloud coming down. And then it started coming down, and as it was going down Crutcher Road, it was getting whiter and whiter.
Governor Taft has declared the state of emergency. He's sending in the Highway Patrol, the Ohio National Guard to help with the cleanup. Now, there was one man who was right in the middle of the storms last night. Blizzard Bill Spencer, meteorologist for NBC 24, was out in the storm tracker van. Right. I was listening to you, listened to you on the radio on K100, also watched you on our air last night, and it was very frightening. Very frightening for us, at least. I know you have a lot of experience doing this.
Yeah, it really was scary last night. Oh, I'd say around 5:30 we were in Perrysburg, and the same funnel cloud, the tornado that hit Port Clinton, went right on top of our van, right above us. We could see the formation of the funnel cloud itself. So it was very scary with winds of 60 miles per hour. But we have a still shot of the radar of what we do believe is the Port Clinton tornado, which has now come down, rated as an F2 tornado, of winds of 113 to 157 miles per hour. Again, you can clearly see the hook there on the radar with another storm developing down towards the south. So an F2 tornado rated very strong. The video you just saw coming out of Van Wert County, we haven't yet gotten the official rating, but I would say it's a very strong F3 and possibly an F4 tornado in Van Wert County. Again, you're seeing some damage across the region right there. And F3 and F4 wind speeds would be of 200 to 250 miles per hour. And at one time, coming out of Indiana, Jim, there were 4 tornadoes on the ground coming from the storms out of Indiana. So chasing this yesterday was quite the scary experience. And we were the first media on the scene at Magruder Hospital in Port Clinton, and it was absolute chaos for about a half an hour over there.
I know. It was very reassuring for a lot of people to be able to listen in and watch and see you in the circumstances there. You and Kelly did a fantastic job yesterday. Appreciate it. And, of course, Bill, we'll be back a little later in our broadcast to bring us up to date on why storms like this in November are so rare.
You got it. No problem.
Okay, Bill, thank you very much. Well, another of our reporters covering the aftermath of the storms is our Rob Packard. Rob is on the scene in Fostoria, one of the hardest hit communities. Rob, you were there at first daylight. I imagine it has been heartbreaking for the people of Fostoria.
Oh, there has been cleanup efforts going on really since the sun started coming up. I'm standing in the path of where the tornado would have gone through around 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and it has been quite a tale since then. Several problems today they're dealing with. On top of the cleanup efforts, the water treatment plant is down, so that means pretty much no one in the town has any water. On top of that, well, half the town has no power. Now, this street I'm standing on, Vicky Lane, we're told by the Red Cross, was really the hardest hit in the entire city. And you can just see the path of destruction that the tornado would have left. A minivan flipped over in the distance, tree limbs lying across the street and people's lawns. And on top of a tree, if you pan up just a little bit, you can see an object that is actually a part of someone's shed on top of one of the trees. Going to video now, we have several other problems throughout the area. This was the hardest street hit, but several others were also hit. Tree limbs, trailer that was just obliterated. A family was inside of that trailer when it happened, and amazingly, they survived. We have several amazing survival stories, and they're all pretty similar. Someone saw or heard the tornado coming, ran for cover, and survived with just seconds to spare. Now, joining me live right now is someone with probably one of the most amazing survival stories out here, Jeff Kingery. You were home when the tornado was coming through here.
Yes, we were. We were just getting ready to eat supper, and my wife had fixed her plates, and she come out after a knife, and she looked out the back window, and she told me she thought she saw a funnel, and I went over to look, and it sure enough was. We could see it carrying all the debris. We saw it hit a power station and a huge flash. And
you and your family ran into the basement, I understand?
Right. I immediately told everybody down in the basement now, and the power went off immediately. We grabbed our candles and we headed for the basement. It was only a total of maybe 30 seconds. We got down there and got under another workbench of mine for cover, and that's when it hit. We heard the loud boom.
And when you're sitting in your basement, this is probably the most interesting thing here. What did you see sitting in your basement, you and your family, looking up?
In just a matter of seconds, the house was moved off the foundation, and we saw the light coming through, and then it was just all kinds of heavy winds carrying debris and glass and just throwing everything down around us in the basement.
Okay, thank you very much. I understand you and a lot of other people on the street have a lot of cleaning up to do today. There are some relief efforts going on in Fostoria. We want to tell you about the Food Town and the farm. Starting 4 o'clock this afternoon, they are giving away 1 gallon of free bottled water to anyone affected by this. And coming up at noon, the Red Cross at their office at 115 South Main, soup and sandwiches for any of the victims. Of course, with no power, we have no restaurants to eat at, so of course that is a much-needed service. Coming up later in the show, we will talk with Fostoria's Public Safety Director and see what he has to say about this. Reporting live in Fostoria, back to you, Jim.
Okay, Rob, thanks very much. Stay in touch. Great job out there. Well, thousands of people are still without power this morning. Rob talked about that in Fostoria, for example. And NBC 24 Shaniqua Stratford has the latest on that situation. Shaniqua, you've been talking to the power people out there, and thousands of people still don't have any electricity.
Definitely, but the good news is that number is dropping very, very quickly. Now, area electric companies tell us that the number of people without power is dropping very, very fast. What they're saying is that they hope to have everything back to normal within a couple of days. Now, Toledo Edison says more than 20,000 customers were without power last night. That number is down to about 3,600 at this time. Now, the majority of those are in Port Clinton. Also, some residents are without power in Jerry City, Sandusky, Milan, Weston, Fremont, and Defiance. But Toledo Edison says they anticipate almost everyone will have power restored sometime today. Now, Hancock Wood Electric Cooperative says about 26 of their customers are still without power today. That number is down from almost 1,200. Most of them are in Fostoria. Now, the company hopes to get everything back up to speed early today. Also, American Electric Power is reporting 1,700 without power. In Paulding and Van Wert counties, that number is down from 6,000. Everyone is expected to have power back by Thursday. Now, if you do have any questions about the outages, you can call Toledo Edison at 1-800-447-3333. You can reach Hancock Wood at 888-417-3010. Also, American Electric Power customers can call 1-800-672-22 831. Now, there's no word on what other power companies are doing, but we do know that Toledo Edison says they are calling in crews from Pennsylvania to help speed up their process, so that's good news there. And, of course, we will keep you posted on this situation.
It's quite a yeoman's effort that all these power crews have to go through in the wake of a storm like this.
Yes,
it's incredible.
Moving very fast, and
Yes.
that's the good news, because more than 20,000 earlier, now they're down to maybe 5,000.
It's a good thing they're getting help from outside, too.
Yes.
All right, Shaniqua Stratford, thanks very much. Well, we have other reporters out on the scene this evening. John Antelect, or this morning, I should say. John Antelect is standing by right now in Jerry City, another one of the communities so hard hit by the deadly storms last night. John, you're on the phone with us. Tell us what you see.
Yes, well, I got to tell you, Jim, the center of the village suffered a direct hit last night. Residents today are walking around stunned, just looking at all the damage in the middle of this tiny village. Several buildings have been completely destroyed, including a structure used to house some of the village's emergency vehicles. Now, amazingly, there were actually no casualties here last night, not even an injury. The power is still completely out in the entire village, and it's not expected to be back on for at least a few days. And the village has imposed a mandatory ordinance right now to stay off the streets after dark and until dawn, until the power is restored. We're going to have some amazing pictures for you coming up later on, starting at 5 o'clock, so you won't want to miss that. Jim, back to you.
Okay, John, and we're looking at a few pictures right now. You couldn't see it because I imagine you don't have a television out there to watch, but we had some pictures from the scene.
Yeah, we will have some daylight pictures for you that just are unbelievable. Some houses suffered some very narrow misses.
All right. That's John Antelect, who's standing by in Jerry City, another one of the heavily hit communities in our area. All right, let's, as we talked to Bill Spencer just a little bit earlier, he was out in our storm chaser van. He's going to be back in just a moment to tell us what happened, what he saw, and what's so special about these November storms. We'll be back in just a moment.
Here's a little piece of information that could really help you. If you have diabetes and you're on Medicare, your testing supplies may be covered. Monitors, test strips, lancets, type 1 or type 2 diabetes.
Put their lives back together, and we value your future. Gorin and Harris, serving Ohio and Michigan. Call 1-800-6700-LAW for a free consultation.
This is a special report from NBC 24 News.
This special edition of NBC 24's story about the day after the deadly November storms will continue now. Bill Spencer was out in the storm chaser van last night around the area, keeping an eye on things and keeping us all reassured, those of us who had reason to be down in our basements, and when the sirens went off, I know I was one of them. Bill, tell us what's so unusual about these November storms.
Well, first of all, it's November, and in certain parts of the country, you do get a second severe weather season. Usually it's more in October than November, but I still seem to feel, and we've talked about this a lot recently, the El Nino effect has got to come into play here. In fact, take a peek at the satellite photo that we had during the past 24 hours. You see it right there. That's the current shot. That's yesterday. There's the squall line and the supercells hitting. And by the way, we have sunshine right now, but then the clouds roll in later today. You see it right there. But what happens with an El Nino effect, you have very powerful subtropical jet stream. That's what you're seeing right there, that big band of white clouds moving up the Appalachians. Sometimes that subtropical jet stream will whip further northward in an El Nino year. And at the same time, we had a very powerful Pacific storm last week. So that Pacific storm tapped into the energy from the El Nino, the subtropical jet stream, pulls it further northward, creates a heck of a lot of wind shear, meaning a change of wind direction at different heights of the atmosphere. One direction's like this. You go up about 10,000 feet, it's like that. That causes twisting in the atmosphere. That's what happened yesterday. But I think we look back at it, El Nino had a lot to do with this.
Okay, Bill. El Nino.
El Nino.
We will remember this as an El Nino year.
You got it.
All right, Bill Spencer, thanks so much. Well, Dow Vu is standing by in Hamler in Henry County, where heavy winds last night knocked a train right off the tracks. About 18 train cars scattered them across a nearby field more than 150 feet from the tracks. Fortunately, no injuries reported there. Dow joins us now on the telephone. She's right in front of that train derailment. What do you see, Dow?
That's right, Jim. I am in Henry County Road 7, right off of State Route 18. The railroad company, CSX, tells me 22 cargo boxes blew off the tracks, as you mentioned, just right in front of me right now. No injuries or fatalities reported, fortunately. Crews have been working since around 7 p.m. last night around the clock, cleaning up this mess. There's heavy equipment, machinery, trucks hauling out the debris. Some of the workers are actually taking a break right now. CSX replaced about 500 feet of track so far. They say it'll take about 30 days to clear out the cargo boxes. They're all mangled up. They'll have to cut them out, open as well. But the tracks will reopen by about 5 p.m. tonight. One has already reopened. Now, there are 2 homes next to the railroad tracks, and there was no damage to the homes. Fortunately, a school across the street was not damaged either in the storm here. And just about 5 miles east of here, outside Deschler, we saw a barn destroyed. It sent pieces of the building about a quarter of a mile into the field. The homeowner saw it happening as he was driving home. Fortunately, there were no injuries there or fatalities as well. Caused about $20,000 worth of damage to his barn. Fortunately, he does have insurance, but it won't cover the demolition costs. Jim, reporting live from Henry County, back to you.
All right, Dow Vu reporting from the scene of that train wreck. Fortunately, nobody hurt there. Perhaps the hardest hit area in northwestern Ohio is Van Wert. 2 people were killed there. Angelica St. John was there this morning and brings us this story.
Here's the tornado.
This is what Van Wert was facing. 4 tornadoes barreled into Van Wert County. This one captured on home video.
I can't even comprehend it. It's amazing to me. I never expected anything like this to happen here in Van Wert.
This is what residents now face. Homes reduced to rubble, power lines in front yards, trees clear-cut, and what's left of the trees holds what's left of the homes.
Because I heard a lot of wind, and I go down, and right at the end of my road there's a humongous tornado right in the field at the end of my road.
I've never seen anything in my life like it. It was huge.
You could hear sirens over the rain as families assess the damage and as rescue workers search for those missing and injured. Dozens of people were inside the Van Wert Cinema when the tornado tore the top off. Luckily, these patrons were able to get out safely. A staging area has been set up here at Van Wert High School so people can come in and check on friends or loved ones who are unaccounted for. But police officers we spoke with say that there have been far fewer injuries than they expected.
We probably had approximately 40 to 50 people that's been in here, throughout the night.
The sound of rescue helicopters rumbles through the night sky as they tend to the injured.
I won't believe it until tomorrow morning when it sets in. That's scary.
Scarier still for those searching for loved ones still missing.
Angelica St. John reporting. Now let's head back to Port Clinton to check in with NBC 24 senior reporter Tom Bosco. He's been on the scene since yesterday. Tom, how are you holding up?
I'm holding up okay. An hour of sleep, but the adrenaline's pumping out here. And the adrenaline is no doubt pumping for all the survivors here and the folks who are working. I want to quickly show you some damage here. We are in Lakeview Park, a very tree-lined park, not so much anymore. Check this out. This stump here, obviously uprooted. It's hard to say whether this is by the tornado that swept through this area, but no doubt it must have been. Also, I want to show you an interesting perspective from 56 feet off the street level from the camera at the top of our mast on our live truck. You can see a house or two here completely destroyed because of the tornado ripping its roof off. We showed you an emotional reunion last night between a woman and her brother, who the brother lived on this block, I believe, in one of these houses. So you can see quite a dangerous situation for many of the folks here. And when you speak with folks here in Port Clinton, one common theme remains, and that is no one can believe that no one was seriously hurt or killed in the tornado last night. Amazing amounts of destruction, incredible destruction, and thankfully, fortunately, no one hurt or killed. Jim?
Tom, can you tell us a little bit about the relief efforts that are underway right now?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have some immediate needs, anybody who is working here or anybody who's been displaced and finds themselves without power, the Salvation Army is on the scene. They can get you a hot meal. They've got meals. Interestingly, they've got meals donated from McDonald's. But today, of course, is Veterans Day. The VFW here in Fort Clinton was planning a big Veterans Day meal. They've had to cancel that. And, of course, the food, instead of going to waste, has been here at the Lakeview Park, where the Salvation Army is offering that to folks who are basically survivors here. Also, as Rob mentioned, Food Town and the farm are offering gallons of bottled water, and the Red Cross is on the scene, and they are helping. Now, if you would like to donate, you can call this number, 419-732-ARMY. That's the Salvation Army here in Fort Clinton, and they can get you squared away with that. So that's the scene here in Fort Clinton. Jim, back to you.
Okay, Tom, and for our viewers who couldn't write all that down right away, we'll try and get those numbers to them a little bit later in our broadcast, or bring them to them, our viewers, on the website. Let's go to a break right now. We'll continue NBC 24 the day after the deadly November storms.
Destruction from the tornado earlier. Like I said, this is really the street that was the hardest hit. You can just see cleanup efforts going on. It's really been going on since daybreak. Joining me live right now, we have the Safety Services Director for Fostoria, Ralph Wise. Now, put this into perspective here for us. Where would you rank this in the history of Fostoria?
Well, it's one of the worst disasters of the history. You'd probably have to go back to the blizzard of 1978 or the fusee plant explosion to find something this devastating. It just saddens me to see all these people that I know personally out here. Everything that they ever owned are out here picking up, but I guess you can take heart in the fact that there's other people I know personally that are coming out here and helping their neighbors get back. And we've got a lot of community resources, the Red Cross, and a number of communities just coming out to help the people in this tragedy.
And let's show some video of some of the damages here while you talk about it. What kind of damages have you had a chance to survey this morning?
Mostly trees just uprooted and onto houses. We've had the whole roof collapse at the St. Wendelin High School, the parochial high school here in Fostoria, and so we don't really know when they'll be back in session. The third floor of the hospital was hit, and so we only have emergency room facilities. And so the resources of this community was stretched pretty thin. We're turning the corner now. We've got the power on at the water plant, and in a couple of hours we'll be able to have people be able to use their water, but it's very important that they can use the water for anything but drinking, and if they drink it, they need to boil it for at least the next 24 to 48 hours.
All right, how long will it take to clean up from something like this, Les?
Probably days. We're doing all we can. The city's going to come in and try to get a big dumpster here and just have people just throw things in there because we want to help them out as best they can.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. About every other house on this street is damaged in some way. It'll be a long effort. Reporting live in Fostoria, Rob Packard, NBC 24 News. Back to you.
All right, Rob, thanks for your excellent efforts there. Thanks to our entire team who have done such a tremendous job over the last 18 hours. We'll be back at 5 o'clock.
Out near Van Wert, and this is what folks there were faced with. Again, lots of destruction as twisters stormed through. They had a movie theater, a lot of businesses. Dozens of homes were destroyed. This is some pretty scary home video. State of emergency has been declared in that area, and to see how things are going out there today, we go to Tess Raffles, who continues our team coverage. Tess, what can you tell us?
Mel, today, finally, everyone is getting a chance to see all the destruction left behind by the 4 tornadoes that touched down here in Van Wert. And the pictures tell the story. Take a look right behind me. We're in front of what used to be a movie theater. And actually, what you see right now are seats. Just the seats. That is all that's left behind of this one theater. Caved-in roofs just completely blown away. And there's actually an amazing story to this. Now, earlier yesterday, right before the tornado hit, a group of children, a lot of children were watching the Santa Claus 2 right in this theater where you see these seats. Then, when the tornado warnings came, the theater was evacuated, but many of these children had no place to go since their parents had dropped them off. So the people here at the theater gathered the children, brought them to the center of the theater. And again, this is where they were once sitting. And it's just so frightening to imagine what could have happened. Cars were thrown in there. Again, completely ripped off all walls of this theater. And these are the types of stories we're seeing throughout the community. We know 2 people are dead, 17 people injured, 2 critically. An 18-year-old man thrown from his car and a 75-year-old man who died when his house collapsed. Those were the 2 victims here. But after just driving around through the area, We have also seen this community come together, people helping their neighbors pick up, trying to sift through the debris, trying to look for anything they can salvage in their homes. Dozens of homes have been destroyed here, dozens of buildings as well. Many people left without job. In fact, nearby in an industrial park, some 300 to 500 people woke up this morning without a job because of all the buildings that collapsed there. Now, the lieutenant governor is right now touring the area, trying to assess all the damage. They know it's going to be in the millions. But again, after seeing at least one tornado, a F4 category, F5 being the strongest, they know that this could have been much worse. And now they're just going to try and pick up the pieces. This is a state of emergency here in this county as well as in Ottawa County. We'll find out later today what the next step is in trying to pick up the pieces here in this community.
Amazing, amazing pictures. Tess, thank you very much. Well, in all, as you mentioned, 5 people were killed in yesterday's storms. We have 18-year-old Nicholas Mullenkamp of Van Wert. He died when he was thrown from a car, as Tess mentioned. 75-year-old Alfred German of Van Wert was killed when his house collapsed. 73-year-old Denver Branham and Creedy Branham of Continental died when their mobile home was destroyed. 24-year-old Darren Smith from Republic was killed when his house collapsed as well. Similar scenes of people just losing everything played out all over Northwest Ohio. This Tiffin family spent most of last night going through what's left of their home. The roof was gone, the walls are blown over, and hardly anything looks like it did one day ago. The homeowner says he didn't even know what happened. It happened so fast.
I just heard a big thud, and it didn't sound like it had done that much damage. So we stayed here for a couple minutes until we realized it was over. And when I opened that door going up from the basement there, I could not believe the damage that was done.
Dozens of other homeowners in the area are seeing similar damage. Now, Ottawa County, one of 2 Northwest Ohio counties being declared a state of emergency. Area of Fort Clinton has taken the brunt of the storm. Tornado believed to have touched down right near Magruder Hospital there. Damaged the equipment trailer, broke several windows in the ER. They were able to function in spite of it. Several homes were also destroyed. This is the cleanup after what happened there. Dick Berry joins us now live from Fort Clinton with the latest. Dick?
He said about living along Lake Erie, but not necessarily after what we've seen out here today. Take a look at this destruction. This is 2 end condos at the Water's Edge development on Perry Street have been destroyed. Now, debris is scattered all along the beachfront, and awnings and siding also are floating right out in the middle of Lake Erie here. There's also a dramatic reminder of how powerful a tornado can be. One guy we talked to was right in the condo next door last night. His name is Josh Osborne, and he heard a sound last night he's never going to forget.
Went just sitting around, all of a sudden the power went out, and we thought we better get downstairs. And as soon as the power went out, about 2 seconds later, just felt like something crashed into the house and just started shaking. And it was, it's one of those things, you know, it's like probably about 5-6 second thing, but you know, it felt like forever.
And officials out here conservatively estimate that 6 houses have been destroyed, including the 2 you see in back of me here. There's also heavy damage near the City Park, which is right up the block here from us, 11th and 12th Streets, behind the high school, as well as Magruder Hospital. Melissa, back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Dick. Dick Berry reporting. Now, if you live in Ottawa County and you need help, the Red Cross has set up a service center. It's located at 127 Perry Street, right in Port Clinton there. You can also call them at 419-734-1100. Tornadoes in general are very rare for this time of year. So what happened yesterday to cause all the severe weather? Dave Carlson joins us now live from the Futurecast Center to explain. Dave?
Well, Melissa, you're right. This would have been an absolutely classic springtime, April or May, even June storm scenario. You have an infusion of a very warm, moist air, which is coming up out of the Gulf of Mexico. And then you combine that with a cold air mass that moves in out of Canada, which is exactly what happened yesterday. And again, this is very common for April, also for May, not for November. And when you have the two clashing together, that's when the tornadoes develop, or strong thunderstorms, or winds and rain and thunderstorms. So it's what happened yesterday. Again, as you said, extremely unusual for November, but obviously it happens. But again, it's very, very classic, very, very reminiscent of what would be happening April, May, and June.
Took a lot of people off guard. Thank you very much, Dave. You know, a lot of customers are still without power one day later. Toledo Edison says about 3,100 people are still in the dark. Now, most of the outages at this point are in the Port Clinton area. Hancock Wood Electric Cooperative says only 26 customers are still without power. If you want to report a power outage, we do have some phone numbers that you can call. Toledo Edison's number is 1-800-447-3330 or 1-800-774-5237. Hancock Wood Electric Cooperative's number, 1-800-445-3010. Now, all of this information, also video from yesterday's storms and much more, can be found on our website, WTOL.com. With a very special parade and dedication this morning. And Jim Taylor was there. He's been covering it for us and joins us from the Satellite Center. It's good to see the parade come back, isn't it, Jim?
It certainly is for a lot of people, Melissa. It's been 10 years since Toledo has had a Veterans Parade canceled because so few people were participating or even coming to watch it. But today, Veterans Day was back in full.
Here, we know some of the villages in the county also have problems with power being out. We're understanding power may be out for days, so we're having problems with water, generators. We'll be looking for assistance there. Also, the schools in this county, we closed all of them today. We may have to close them for several more days. The wind speed of an F4 tornado is 200 miles an hour to 260 miles an hour. The Weather Service officials, there are 4 meteorologists from North Webster in the county right now. As they assess that, they will try to determine where in that range, if they can, where that is.
How long did it take? Seconds before this tornado?
Okay, the question was how long it took this to happen. The storm was originally, and the tornadoes were moving at 50 miles an hour. When you get a large tornado like that, sometimes they will slow down. And unfortunately, when that occurs, it stays over the area a little bit longer. So yeah, it happened in seconds, but those seconds continued a little bit longer because...
Well, you're hearing details of an incredible storm. It was a force 4 tornado with winds in excess of 200 miles an hour, strong enough to rip the roof right off of that movie theater. You see the blue seats there. Those were the seats in a protected movie theater. It is now open air, and there's actually a car that's sitting on the first 10 rows to the left of that particular speaker. An amazing scene, and we heard about the recovery effort. It wasn't just in Van Wert where there were problems. We have a reporter standing by, Dave Nethers, from our affiliate WJW. He is in Port Clinton, Ohio. Dave, what does it look like there?
Well, take a look for yourself. This is a small community in northeast Ohio, and you can see all around us. This is very much the scene. There are roofs on the ground, trees that have been twisted and snapped off well above the ground. Look at this. This is probably debris from someone's shed that has just been literally wrapped around a tree here by the twisters that came through here. This all happened in a matter of 15 seconds or so, the residents here tell me. This is another home that is very much like many of the homes that we've seen in a 21 square block area here, with just part or all of the roofs missing. There are cars crushed at the local hospital. There was a minivan on the roof. Power is out to a very large area of Ottawa County, which has been declared now a disaster area. Emergency management is assessing the need, and the cleanup has begun here. What is amazing about this whole scene here, as you just continue to take a look around you, is that with very little time to react, the people in Port Clinton here say that they just literally took cover where they were. One man told us that he rolled out of bed. 2 seconds later, the roof literally collapsed on the bed that he was in. He's okay. Many of the other people, with no time to react, standing in their homes as debris just was blowing past them, got out with just nicks and scrapes. It's going to be many days before people put everything back together here in Port Clinton. And the cleanup has begun. In fact, many of the assessment teams are just now assembling in this community.
A lot of rebuilding to do. Dave Nethers, thank you so much for that report from Port Clinton, Ohio. That's from WJW-TV. We got a little news alert that happened just in the period during which we heard that press conference in Ohio. The Iraqi Foreign Affairs Committee in the Iraqi Parliament has decided to reject the UN demand that, in fact, Iraq open up its doors to UN inspectors once again for unfettered access to some of these supposed weapon sites. Now, this doesn't mean necessarily that Iraq is going to reject entirely the UN proposal. All it means is that one committee within a parliament, of course a rubber stamp parliament controlled by Saddam, has decided to reject this UN, the latest UN resolution, as President Bush would say, the 17th UN resolution. More on that to come, but here to talk about all this, former Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations, Dennis Halliday. Mr. Halliday, now you were head
New Center, Jason Martinez, 13.
Where you can see a good portion of the roof has been ripped off. If you look real closely, you can see right inside the classrooms, or just a stone's throw away, is Fostoria Community Hospital as we circle around. And you can see some of the roof damage there, but it's quite obvious that the school, St. Wendelin School, bore the brunt of the damage from yesterday's storms. No question, the devastation very apparent from the air over Van Wert in Van Wert County. Fostoria also taking hits, but now we're going to peel north, go into Port Clinton, give you the bird's eye view there. Magruder Hospital damaged by the storms last night, as were numerous homes, some washed away into Lake Erie. Let's give you the vantage point from this helicopter. Magruder Hospital suffered some damage last night. Some windows were blown out, but you can see the structure of the hospital appears to be pretty well intact. But very near the hospital, you have a number of homes that have been significantly affected or damaged. That one home there, you can see the shell of the building. And without giving you specifics, you can just take a look at the damage, and you know that this is where the twister hit. A pretty direct line. And then as we come out to the lake, I believe these are the Water's Edge condominiums. And at least two of these condos are destroyed with the debris tossed out onto the lakefront.
Incredible. Lee Conklin with those pictures for us tonight. Well, the damage certainly says it all, especially in there. 2 people in the county were killed. A 75-year-old man died when his home collapsed on him, and 19-year-old Nick Mollenkopf got sucked into the tornado's funnel while driving. Today, we talked to Mollenkopf's cousin and other people who saw the destruction there.
You just remember memories about him, and that's what you have to do. You have to remember the good things that Nick brought to all of us, and he brought many good things.
And then I knew about it, but then just to come and see it, that's a whole other story. Hearing about it, I heard everything was flattened, but then when I drove by this morning, it was just kind of sunk in, you know.
Now today, Lieutenant Governor Maureen O'Connor toured the destruction in Van Wert County and pledged to do everything she could to get people federal money. Tomorrow, the governor is going to Van Wert. To the northwest of Van Wert, a Category F2 tornado ripped a path of devastation through the city of Fort Clinton. The Red Cross says 30 homes completely destroyed there. 2 condos were blown again right into Lake Erie, as Lee showed us. City officials say dozens of homes were damaged, with many walls and roofs torn right off. Trees and power lines were down across the city. Several cars flipped over by the tornado. Now, despite the heavy damage there were no serious injuries reported.
It's just amazing how in a matter of minutes what kind of destruction can come through, but we're a good community and we'll pull together and get back on our feet again.
City officials there say it's just too early to put a price tag on the damage. Ohio Governor Bob Taft, again, is expected to tour the damage in Fort Clinton as well tomorrow, so he will be in our area. A note, though, tonight for people who live in Fort Clinton. If you're still up, Fort Clinton public and parochial schools are closed on Tuesday. That's technically today. I guess city officials say 2 of the schools do not have power. There's still a lot of debris on the roads there, so again, no school for technically today for Fort Clinton schools. City of Fostoria also hard hit here. A school and hospital suffering extensive damage, and a number of trees and power lines were torn down there. St. Wendelin High School's roof collapsed, as Lee showed us on his chopper tour. And the Fostoria Community Hospital surgery room was damaged, along with the ER and obstetrician area. We are told patients and staff did get out okay, so that's good, and no one there was hurt. Because of the extensive damage there, though, to St. Wendelin School, officials there say they are closed for the rest of the week as they try and square things away. Finally, the city of Tiffin is also picking up the pieces from last night's tornadoes. Tiffin, about 45 miles southeast of Toledo in Seneca County. The damage ranged there from homes turned into rubble to broken tree limbs, uprooted trees, and shattered windows. Despite all of the damage there, people who live in Tiffin remain upbeat today. Many residents say the community has come together despite the lives that have been ripped apart there. And in other news tonight, here in Toledo, a 3-car crash in South Toledo sent several people to the hospital.
Around probably for the overnight hours, and we're kind of hoping there'll be some breakup for the afternoon hours of Tuesday. Right now, though, the clouds do not harbor any precipitation. 13 Action News Bigfoot Doppler radar not indicating any rain or snowfall out there right now. What we are indicating is a 41-degree temperature, 82% humidity. It's rather high. The wind is calm. Other temperatures, well, we got some upper 30s showing up. Hillsdale Airport reporting 39 degrees. And about the warmest spot is Sandusky by the lake there, 44 degrees. Monroe Custer Airport at 43. And Lima is at 37. Toledo's highest today was 55 degrees, but that occurred just after midnight. The lowest was 42. And, of course, now we're down to 41 degrees, so I guess that makes that the lowest. But that's for Tuesday. 42 is the lowest for Monday. The average high, by the way, is 50 degrees. Here's our predictor model. We begin at midnight, and we move through the morning and afternoon hours of Tuesday. There's a persistent cloud cover trying to get out of here, and it does eventually make it out of here for a clear Tuesday night and a partly cloudy Wednesday. So look for partly sunny conditions to develop possibly as early as tomorrow afternoon. For the nighttime hours, though, we're looking for mainly cloudy skies, west winds 5 to 10 miles per hour, and an overnight low of 36 degrees. For Tuesday, the 13 Action News Hourcast, starting out with clouds, but we are pressing on towards partly sunny conditions in the afternoon with temperatures rising into the mid-40s. 7-day forecast, okay. Mid-40s Tuesday and Wednesday, upper 40s Thursday, a little cooler with clouds on Friday.